All right, good evening. I would like to call the meeting of the Planning Board to order. This evening, we're going to start with review and approval of the minutes from the December 5th and November 7th meetings. Has everyone had the opportunity to review those minutes? Any questions, comments, concerns?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent, okay. There are no bills for us to review or sign this evening, so move to board member comments. Does anyone have comments this evening?
No comments. No comments.
No comments.
All right. And next up, staff report. Chris, what do you got for us?
Thank you. I actually have a bit of a beefy staff report tonight. I did provide at everyone's desk our kind of monthly kind of departmental update, but just a couple brief highlights from that. So our priority areas, we did coordinate for 104 Main Street, which is an 40B application currently submitted to Mass Housing. We worked with departments as well as select board and other boards to provide comments to Mass Housing in relation to that project as proposed. We anticipate a response from Mass Housing in whether or not they will be the subsidizing agency for that project on or before February 17th. The project would still require EOHLC and local approval through the Zoning Board of Appeals, but we are obviously closely monitoring that project as it moves ahead. I also wanted to provide an update on our hazard mitigation plan update, which is being coordinated with our consultant Horsley Witten Group. We are nearing the end of our kind of data collection and internal department reviews of that plan. And we'll be moving into the public engagement phase. So I want to give a quick plug to our community outreach forum that is scheduled for that. That'll be held January 23rd at 6:30 p.m. In the Select Board meeting room at Town Hall. Moving right along, we touch on the townwide economic plan. So this is an initiative that's being coordinated through the Shrewsbury Development Corporation. We'll be reviewing the draft scope of work with the Shrewsbury Development Corporation on Monday with a goal of issuing that shortly thereafter as an RFP, request for proposals, in order to complete the project by the target date of June 30th of this year. And then, so I also wanted to touch on, we did hold a community outreach meeting regarding the Jordan Pond trail, multi-use trail that's being proposed. We are kind of wrapped up with our conceptual plans and moving now into local permitting, as well as bringing those conceptual plans to final construction design drawings. So we'll be applying for grants through Mass Trails to bring that to full construction set, and then thereafter pursue additional grants related to implementation of that trail and actual construction. So that project is moving along, and we're continuing to have those public outreach sessions. So that was held December 4th. We also have been monitoring and attended the WRTA's transit evaluation. So they updated their kind of transit services and looked at ridership moving forward. They had a fairly robust community outreach kind of slate related to that, where they identified specific stakeholders. Our office and departments coordinated with that, and we also helped disseminate some of those forums out. But we attended their kind of wrap-up session December 5th. I believe the information's on their website. It's a good look if you're interested in the WRTA and where they're looking to head that service. Something that, as we look at projects, we're always trying to be cognizant of transit facilities. And then Complete Streets are North Quinsigamond improvements, so those were funded through the Complete Streets program, which is a MassDOT program. That'll be improvements for bike lanes and additional pedestrian infrastructure along North Quinsigamond. We are scheduling another community outreach, and so another plug there, for January 15th at 6:30 p.m. in the town library, just down the street. So definitely welcome the public to attend that and learn more. We do have a project page on our website related to that. You can see the plans and what's being proposed, and we're happy to gain feedback at that community outreach meeting. So again, those two big dates coming up are January 23rd at 6:30 p.m. in the Select Board meeting room for the Hazard Mitigation Plan, and January 15th at 6:30 p.m. in the Town Library for North Quinsigamond Ave Complete Streets improvements. So,
Great,
thank you.
thank you. Okay, next up, meetings and hearings. This evening, we have a proposed garage de minimis change request from Jampa Realty LLC at 5 Church Road.
Thank you. So the applicant and their representative, unfortunately, were not able to be in attendance tonight. They did ask that I would take this on and present this. The plans have been provided to the board. This request is for a de minimis change related to a garage at the existing site for Chiampa's. It's a location that would store the hearses associated with the funeral home there. It does take up some of the spaces within the parking lot. However, it does not affect the overall parking count.
So what is the action here? Is it just action to approve this as a de minimis change?
Yeah, so it'd be a vote to determine that as a de minimis change.
Are you okay with that, Chris?
Yes. Yeah.
Question?
Mhm.
Was this, what was the original site plan approval for here?
Yeah, so the original site plan approval was for the overall site, the Chiampa's funeral home. I believe it was some of the additions, after the original, but it is related to their active site plan.
Okay,
I don't have the citation of it, but it
It's like-
was, yeah.
Over a course of time. right?
got it. Okay,
All right, so is there a motion to accept this as a de minimis change?
I make a motion to accept the proposed garage at 5 Church Road, as a de minimis change.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right. Next up, we have the proposed mezzanine addition site plan modification for 440 Hartford Turnpike. This is a new public hearing, so I'm going to ask Tim, can you read the notice?
Yes. The Shrewsbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday evening, January 9th, 2025, at 7 p.m. in the Selectmen's Hearing Room at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, to hear the application of Shrewsbury Land Property Owner LLC, 133 Pearl Street, Boston, Mass. 02110, as required by the Town of Shrewsbury zoning bylaw, Section 7F3, for site plan modification by the planning board to allow for the modification of an approved site plan to allow an additional 7,560 square feet of mezzanine office space. The proposed development is shown on plans entitled, quote, Site Layout Plan -C2, end quote, on one sheet dated November 22nd, 2024, prepared by Eugene T. Sullivan Incorporated, 230 Lowell Street, Suite 2A, Wilmington, Mass. 01887, stamped by Eugene T. Sullivan, P.E. The subject project is northeasterly of Stony Hill Road and southerly of Hartford Turnpike and consists in whole or in part of Shrewsbury's Assessor's Tax Plate 54, Plot 015000. Copy of the application, plans, and reports may be seen in the office of the Planning and Economic Development Department at the Richard D. Carney Municipal Office Building, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, Mass., and on the Planning Board website at https://shrewsburymass.gov/1202, ongoing planning and economic development.
Thank you very much. All right.
Good evening.
Yes, this evening.
Emily, I think you need to give me access to the chair, right? It says, it shows me here, but I don't think it's letting me. It doesn't say share, it says cancel. I think you need to allow me to share, or no?
Let me see.
Yeah. That's what I'm pressing, and it says, do you want entire screen or not? And I say entire screen. Oh, I apologize, I had to click again. My apologies. All right.
I'm not good with technology, so don't worry about it. You're in good company.
All right, great. Just close that. Good evening. My name is Gene Sullivan. I'm an engineer, also the general contractor. I designed the building, also did the approvals for the project at 440 Hartford Turnpike. I represent Shrewsbury Property Owner LLC, who we're building the building for as the developer. We came back here about a year ago to make a modification to our previously approved site plan to reconfigure the site slightly to suit the needs of a tenant. We have a tenant called Pi Instrument that is taking the whole building. They're a manufacturing company based out of, or one of their offices in Hopkinton now, and they're going to use this to be their corporate headquarters in the U.S. and consolidate a couple of their operations here. We came back to modify the plan about a year ago, and what we had asked the board to do is to allow these two purple boxes to be two-story space to allow some office, corporate headquarters, and those kind of functions in there. And as we've been working through their programming and final layouts and designs, they actually said, well, we'd really like to take this brown box and make that two-story as well. The changes that we have made are all internal. We're not changing the footprint of the building, nothing to the site or anything of that nature. We're just adding another 7,500 square feet of office space. So that's the overall plan. And then I had a simpler exhibit to kind of show you what that meant to show compliance. Again, the brown boxes, we're adding some more square footage there. And what we've shown is a couple of areas out in the main parking field that would be, could be reserved for future parking. They don't have the need for that parking at this time, but to show that we meet compliance, or we're in compliance with the zoning bylaw, we showed where they could be if they were ever needed down the road for somebody else in the building or what have you. We've shown that. We added an additional handicap space because the added number of spaces kicked us up one more to be in compliant with the architectural barriers requirement, and also provided updated tables that show our compliance, and then our reserved spaces, which now would total 42 on the property, are still less. It's 20% of the overall count, and it's still less than the 25 that is allowed by this by the bylaw. So those are our requests, fairly straightforward, and we hope you approve it. I'm here to answer any questions.
Sure. Will the space, so you're doing the fit out for it, so it will be, like, they're expecting to be using it as soon as?
They are using it right away, actually. Okay. Initially, we had, some of it was more future expansion. It really is, but it's going to be built out finished space. But most of it's going to be occupied by cubes and workstations in the future. Okay. But it will be basically bring the workstations in and plug them in, and they're ready to use it. It will be finished, carpeted, lighting, everything else.
Great. Right.
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have no questions.
No questions.
I have no questions.
Okay. Seeing as this is a public hearing, are there any questions, comments from the public this evening? All right, seeing none. Chris, are there any items from the town on this?
No, staff did review this project, and just to be blunt, I think this kind of toes the line of a de minimis change in my mind. I think this is a small and minor change overall, but it is changing the overall square footage in the structure, even though the footprint is not changing. And I think the special nature of how reserved parking is kind of delegated by the board lends itself to, the process that we have it in. That said, I think it's a great use of the site. Certainly is no more impactful than the existing conditions, so, and what's proposed. So that's why we had it here tonight, so.
Great, good. All right, well, if there are no other questions or comments, I'd like to entertain is there a motion out there for,
Sure.
okay?
I make a motion to approve the application for modification of site plan approval at 440 Hartford Turnpike to allow the construction of an additional 7,560 square feet of mezzanine office space and associated parking.
Actually, I just realized, I think we have to close the public hearing first,
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry.
So, I'm sorry, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, I will take that motion, Tim, sorry about that.
No, that's all right, I'll try it again. I make a motion to approve the application for modification of site plan approval at 440 Hartford Turnpike to allow the construction of an additional 7,560 square feet of mezzanine office space and associated parking.
Sounded better the second time.
Good.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, next on the agenda is a proposed parking site plan approval for 516 Boston Turnpike, Capital Property Investments LLC. If I'm not
So we,
mistaken, was they requested? a
correct, we have a
continuance
request to continue for this evening. They would like to be seen before a full board, so.
on that? Okay, so we will move this, I'd like to entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to our next meeting on
February 6th?
February 6th.
Let me just double check. Correct, February 6th, yeah.
Is there a motion?
Motion to continue this topic to January, February 6th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right. Next up, new business. First, I'd like to have Tim read the legal notice with regard to some draft zoning amendments on accessory dwelling units.
What, is that reading the legal notice? No, so, sorry, so that's a draft legal notice that's provided. so-
Never mind.
Okay, we're not,
Just a draft.
not there yet, so that'll be the March meeting, so.
Just
Okay.
watch, you read this thing.
Fair enough, I was ready.
Good. Yeah, so this is just a referral to the planning, to the select board. So the process that we follow for this, for zoning amendments, is that it gets referred to the select board. They'll then review the draft zoning amendments for placement on the warrant. They would, if amenable, put a placeholder and then refer it back to the planning board in order to hold the public hearing. So we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule, and I'll kind of detail that a little bit. But we're looking to do that now to be on the select board meeting for the 28th. That would then get referred back to us. The reason that we're going a little bit earlier, we typically do this in February for placement on the March agenda, but part of the reasoning for doing this early is that we'd like to have this noticed on January 31st, directly after the select board meeting. What that will do is the effective date of the state's ADU legislation is February 2nd. And by having the notice published prior to that date, any ADUs would be subject to zoning if the town so chooses at May town meeting. So the effective date of the zoning is back to the original publication date. So we're just trying to make sure that there's no regulatory gap to provide any questions between that date of February when the state legislation goes into effect, and May town meeting vote. So we have also provided, we provided a draft legal notice, which cites the sections that we are looking at. We have draft bylaw language that was provided. It's substantially similar to what the board was reviewing for the prior special town meeting in October. It's substantially similar to that. We have reviewed it in the context of the legislation that was passed. One of the moving targets for this is the UHLC guidelines. So they have published draft guidelines, and we've geared these proposed amendments in relation to that as well. But those are still subject to public comment up until tomorrow. So we will be submitting some comments related to those guidelines to UHLC. We've provided those comments in a memo with, again, additional context towards some of our background thinking on these amendments and the regulations as provided. And so we'll be looking for that feedback. But without the finalized guidelines, it's a little bit difficult to craft finalized bylaw language. The overall goal of the amendments as proposed is to take our existing accessory dwelling unit language, which is for the town center district, and to apply it town-wide, essentially creating a new section for accessory dwelling units, and that will provide the consistency with what the state legislation already allows. So it just provides it, rather than us regulating it only in the town center, we'll now regulate ADUs town-wide. The language that we're proposing is our existing language with, a fair amount of adjustment for, the square footage and the minutia of what the UHLC guidelines and the legislation require or provide for. That legislation is pretty detailed, so there's not much wiggle room for us to make any changes, to be honest. However, one of the main questions that is delegated to communities is short-term rental. And that is regulated through a separate section, 64G of the Massachusetts General Laws. I've provided a brief summary in my memo of what the town can consider under those provisions. And I think in terms of feedback between now and March and through the public hearing process in March, I think that's going to be the bulk of where we can shape any of the bylaw language prior to May, is looking at how we regulate short-term rentals in relation to accessory dwelling units. So certainly the whole bylaw as it is open to discussion and refinement through that public hearing process, but we're certainly looking for a little bit of a focus on that short-term rental. So that information's been provided. We'll be posting that on our website as well. We have a ADU webpage that's going to detail the process like we've done with other zoning amendments. And the next kind of bite at the apple will be the public hearing in March. So we'll put this on as a discussion item in February. We won't take any action, obviously, but it'll allow the board to have some discussion on some of the materials in the lead up to that public hearing.
Okay, great.
Question?
Mhm.
And this is based on Section 7 and 8 of Chapter 150 of the Acts of 2024. This is a mandate, correct?
Correct, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So regardless of the action that we take at town meeting as a state mandate, as state legislation, it does supersede anything that we have on the books. That's really the main intent, is to make sure that our local zoning matches what state law is now providing. So
Okay.
to reduce confusion in relation to enforcement, and we don't want someone to pick up the zoning bylaw and say that's not allowed here when it is by state statute.
Okay. All right. Any
After
other,
adopted, the bylaw would be amended.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
any other questions on this
No.
matter? All right, so do we have to, we don't, there's
So it would just be a vote to refer the zoning amendments to the select board for placement on the town meeting warrant and to schedule a public hearing.
Okay. So can I get a motion on this matter?
Make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. So this will be referred to the select board. Next, we have Greenbrier lot release request. Hi there. How are you?
Hi, good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Brian Clark, I'm the site supervisor.
Okay.
over
Colin
there.
Babcock, project manager.
Okay.
Here to request a lot releases for the first 5 lots on Conifer Circle, 13579.
Okay. And has the town reviewed the?
We have, so the tie to the slot release was primarily the inclusionary housing fee. That's been it's a scheduled number of payments as those lots get released. We have received the first payment, and so we're comfortable with releasing the first 5 lots.
Okay, and how many more lots are there to be released in this?
There's 48 total, so 48 minus 5, 42.
Okay, and so the lot release will go on the schedule of the fee?
Correct.
Okay, all right, understood. Are there any questions from the board on this matter?
No questions.
These are homes built, ready to go, sold?
So this is the lot release, which will allow them to apply for the foundation permits and
Okay.
building permits.
I have it backwards.
Okay, so I think the motion on the table would be to request a release of the bond for lots 1 through 5, is that correct? For the Greenbrier development,
It's 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9,
1, 3, 5, 7, and 9.
Yeah.
Conifer Circle.
Okay. So can I get a motion for that?
Sure, I make a motion to approve the release of the Greenbrier lots 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Question, can I get, the building department is looking for a letter of release
I think that's something that.
from you guys?
Yeah, we can,
The plan.
Yeah, we'll issue that.
Okay, great,
Great,
We'll issue it tomorrow, and
okay,
excellent.
we're next door to Patty, so we'll give it to her.
right.
Thank you.
Great. Next is discussing and vote to issue the bond for 1 Greenbrier Drive and 169R Gulf Street.
Yep, so, so this is for the bond document for that project. So this is related to the utilities, bonding and a performance guarantee for the utilities. The site work is substantially complete, and they're working on implementing that stuff. So this is for the full bond and inspection is $24,000. We keep half as our bond, which is $12,008, which covers the utilities, drainage, and that. So that amount is calculated from the engineering department, and we find that to be substantially enough. So we did receive the check for that, and we have a clean bond document, I think somewhere over there. Did it not get printed? Okay.
Okay, so are there any questions or comments from the board on this matter?
From what you said, Chris, it's in order.
Correct, yeah, so this is to issue the bond, that would be the performance guarantee on the utilities, drainage, and roadway. So,
But are you saying that the utilities are already complete?
no, they're not. No, this would be the bond
To-
if they're not
to hold.
complete, then the town could then pull the
Correct,
bond. So
right.
it has a requirement that they be constructed in 2.5 years or extended, so.
Okay, understood. All right. Any other questions on this matter?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks.
we're all set. Next on the agenda is to review and act on a letter of commitment for DLTA funding application.
So we can actually skip over that. I've
Okay.
already issued that letter of commitment on behalf of the town, but I will take that opportunity to give just a brief overview of the DLT applications that we have submitted. So that's through Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission. They provide for projects to the region. We actually picked up a second one in the final hours of that application, but we'll be pursuing 2 DLT applications with them, hoping to attend their February 16th meeting where they'll review those for potential funding. The first project is a local project that we are looking at developing a study for kind of bus stop and multimodal improvements along Maple Ave and the other WRTA bus routes. We'll be looking to complete that. Sorry, I'm mixing that up with another project that's we're applying for in February. The application. So the DLT that we applied for is for open space and recreation plan parcel prioritization. That's for a report that will be looking at open space in the town and prioritizing it for acquisition for open space purposes. This is substantially similar to a project that was done in Grafton. It's in pursuit of the open space and recreation plan implementation steps. So this would provide us with a map which identifies town-owned land, which is needs to be deed restricted or is suitable for deed restriction or further protection, as well as identifying other properties that the town may want to consider acquisition and procurement for deed restricting for open space. The other DLT application that came in was suggested to us by CMRPC. A number of communities are looking at accessory dwelling unit regulations. And so they asked if we would be supportive of CMRPC reviewing that as the regional planning agency with other communities. And so being that all communities are affected by that, we thought it was prudent to tag onto that application and to review that. Obviously, we have our proposal that'll be going through our process, but it'll be important to stay in touch with what other communities are doing, and this will be a great opportunity to do that and to take a regional approach of if there's anything else in the future that we need to address through ADUs. This will help us to evaluate that in more depth.
That's a great idea. Great. Thank you very much. Next, there's a vote to correct the decision for 299 Hartford Turnpike site plan and special permits.
Yeah, thank you. This is primarily there's a small error in the 299 decision. It was a holdover from a prior permit. So in the first sentence, the procedural history indicates a application for site plan approval special permit for construction of a 2-family dwelling. This, the board will remember, is for the pizza shop that would be at that location. The vote of the decision correctly indicates it. It's just that first sentence under procedural history that erroneously cites a 2-family dwelling. So this vote would just correct that, and we would submit that to the Worcester Registry of Deeds to correct that decision.
So you have to rescind the first vote.
It doesn't rescind the decision, it just essentially states we would craft a filing to the Registry of Deeds with Town Council saying that the correct decision should cite the pizza shop as proposed, not the 2-family dwelling.
This is Nick's Golden Pizza, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to correct the decision on the 299 Hartford Turnpike site plan and special permit?
Yes, I make a motion to correct the decision for 299 Hartford Turnpike's site plan and special permit to indicate a Nick's Golden Pizza.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Okay, all set.
Is that correct, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think that we have any old business this evening or correspondence. I think that's all we got for this evening.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Was this one of the shortest ones?